Welcome to the fourth and final installment of our pandemic job hunt series. This has been a 4-episode series that I created to provide you with some resources to help along in your job search or just to help you negotiate the pay you deserve. And speaking of pay negotiations, Kate Dixon is back. You may remember her from last week's episode where we were talking about how to negotiate your pay when you get that initial job offer. But this week, we want to look at this a little bit differently. We want to take a look at negotiating your pay when you're already in a job and you want to get more money for the work you're currently doing. So I won't say anything else. Let's just jump into our conversation. Say you're someone who they're in a position that they don't want to leave. They like where they're working. They like their coworkers. They don't really want to go somewhere else, but they do feel like they should be being paid more, or they would like to be making more. First, is there an opportunity right now, given everything that's going on in the world with the pandemic and the economy is taking a huge hit? Is that a possibility right now? And then also, if so, how do you go about that? And is it different from the process we just discussed about when you're first getting an offer for a new position?
You know, I do think that it's different when you're asking for more money from your current job than when you're asking for money for a new job or, going to a new company, but only slightly. And I do think that it's okay to ask for more in these times. I think we've got to be more flexible in hearing no, though. And I think the process, too, is different in that you're going to have to think creatively. So it can't just be all about base pay. What I recommend to people is, just like at any other time, whether it's pandemic or not, that they really focus on what impact they're having in their current job. That's what you lead with, not, oh my gosh, what I'm paid is not fair. Fair tends to be a triggering word that I really recommend, and it may be true. I mean, it may be provably true that it is not fair, but what people tend to hear when you say, oh, this isn't fair, as a manager, what those managers can hear is you are not acting in integrity. And wow, I mean, that's super triggery for people.
Yeah.
And you don't want to start out that way. So if you start out by talking about the value that you bring, the impact that you're making, you're really helping them see you as a product, as a valuable person, a valuable resource for them. And if you can get into the mind of your manager in terms of showing how the impact that you're making really relates to the success of the team and maybe of your manager directly, that's going to make it a lot better sell too. And I would also recommend people use the same kind of a market-based approach that I talked about with the new hire stuff. So based on the market, what I'm seeing for jobs that are like the ones that I have in the market, these are paid between X and Y based on these great deliverables and impact that I've had on the company over the last 18 months. I'm really targeting the higher end of that. How close can we get?
Okay, you answered my question before I could even ask it, because I was going to say, how do you know how much to ask for? So it's basing it off of what's available in the market. So you do have to be realistic to some extent when asking for more money.
The funny thing is, though, people are like, well, I need to know the exact number. There is no exact number. You can find a number to justify just about any position that you have. But that said, you do want to be reasonable. I mean, if you're making 50 grand, you're probably not going to be asking for 100 grand. It's also okay to ask people that you know. There are great online sources like salary.com. The job search boards like Indeed and Monster have great information. Glassdoor has good information. Try to get the information out of as many sources as you can. And it's okay to ask other people who are doing the same work that you're doing. Now, it might be a little easier if you don't say, hey, Chris, how much do you make? But if you come to them with a similar kind of approach, like, hey, I'm seeing that salaries are between X and Y in the market. Does that sound reasonable to you? Am I in the right range? They can answer with, yeah, that sounds right. Or, wow, that sounds really low, or geez, it might be a little high. And you can get a better sense for what the market really is.
That's a great approach because you don't put the other person on the spot.
Exactly.
And not everyone's ready to have that conversation with you.
No, they're not. But, what's fun is I am seeing a lot more people being open about what they make than ever before. I mean, it used to be super taboo. People are actually talking about it now.
This week, I wanted to invite you all to come join me on my other podcast that I host called This Is Awkward. If you didn't know, I was doing another podcast. This is a show that I host with my good friend Allison from Inspired Budget, and we help listeners get through their awkward money situation. So people just like you call in and share with us some of the most awkward money situations they found themselves in. And throughout the episode, we help them get through this issue, hopefully with a few laughs along the way. So we would love to have you join us. You can head to popcornfinance.com/thisisawkward or just click the link in the show notes to listen and subscribe. I had a past episode with, her name is Purple. She's an anonymous blogger. Do you know A Purple Life?
Yeah, I do. And I listened to that episode. It was really awesome.
Yeah, and it's so great hearing other people stepping out and making those attempts to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And it can lead to some changes. I mean, it may open up some people's eyes to some things maybe that they're upset to now find out, but at least now you can make a change. But yeah, I love that approach you gave and how to approach that conversation for the people who aren't quite at Purple's expert status. They're not there. They're not built yet to talk about things so personal to them.
Yeah. I mean, and it can be really empowering to start having these conversations and being open about it. And you can be open without being like completely open. You can have good, meaningful conversations that you can gather and give good information without being very specific about what you personally make.
Oh, I love it. Kate, you've given me so many great answers. I mean, I probably could sit here and bug you with questions for the next 3 to 4 hours, but I know you have a life to live that is not answering my question. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join me. And if people want to learn more about the work you're doing, maybe even pick up a copy of your new book, where is the best place to go?
So my website's a great place to go. It's katedixon.org. So KATEDIXON.org. And Pay Up, my book, it's available on all the major booksellers. So Amazon and Google Play and Apple and Barnes & Noble and most of the places that you would think to order a book.
All right, perfect. I'll put that all in the show notes. That way they can find it. And again, the title is Pay Up, Unlocking Insider Secrets to Salary Negotiation. Kate, thanks so much again for joining me and appreciate the time.
My delight. Thank you.
And a big thank you to all of you for joining me over the past 4 weeks as we went through this pandemic job hunt series. And if you just jumped in and this is your first episode, go back, check out the first 3 episodes. I think there's some really great information there from some amazing and really knowledgeable guests. And if you feel like you've gotten something from this series, like you've learned something valuable, something that may help you along in your job search, please, I would love to know. Come over, let me know on Instagram. You can find me there at Popcorn Finance Podcast. And please feel free to share this series with your family and friends. If there's anyone out there who's looking for work or they're just trying to figure out how to ask for more money, I think there could be some great tips in here for them. So as always, I appreciate you joining me here for another bag of popcorn. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Your boy keep it poppin' like Mary Poppins.